Howdy y'all, so I've got another product review, unveiling, I don't really know what we're gonna call these, for you today. So I am a firm believer in save money where you can, but I also love having all the gadgets. And one of the things I always wanted was a yarn holder of some kind. The yarn bowls are nice, and I do have quite a few, but they, number one, only work with yarn balls, really. And number two, sometimes they're not the most practical thing in the world, depending on the project that you're doing. So like when I'm tufting, the yarn bowls are not super helpful with that, and a yarn stand would be. So this is what I got. I got it off of Amazon. It is a wooden yarn, wait, where's the name? Wooden yarn holder, and it is in the color of walnut, which I believe is why it has this little brown sticker there and a little brown sticker there. So we're gonna open it up and take a peek. Oh, we do have assembly instructions, which they look to be pretty good. If you watched my video on the Create kits, I do like instructions that are full color and printed on nice paper. Just makes me feel like I got a little bit of my money's worth, which, for the sake of argument, let's see what my money's worth was on this one. Now, full disclosure, I did not pay for this one. It was gifted to me. However, had I paid for it, the price would be, hang on, I'm scrolling. Oh, I scrolled too far. Hang on. Oh, I probably should have looked this up in advance. I am working on becoming more organized. Okay, here we go. So this would be $34.90 had I paid for it. I did not pay for this one, but it is available for purchase on Amazon. They are not paying me for a review of it. I'm getting nothing, whether we like it or hate it, it doesn't really matter. So we have our instructions, and then we have the yarn holder, I'm assuming. Obviously we're gonna have some assembly. Now my first thought is, it is packaged really nice. I was a little bit worried with the box kind of warping out here, that maybe it was an overstuffed box, and that can sometimes lead to damage, but all the pieces do seem to be fitting in this cut styrofoam rather nicely. I believe this is going to end up being the base, and it does have a slot for putting your phone and things like that. We'll test that out in a moment. We've got the arm that will hold the yarn. There is a cup. Oh, there's some fibers on that. I don't know if they're showing. Oh yeah, you can kind of see right there. There are some fibers on it that are a little bit awkward looking, but they seem to come off okay. It is completely unfinished on the inside. This cup is intended to go into the base to hold crochet hooks and other yarn accoutrement, which is very nice, but I would prefer that it be finished on the inside, just because that rough edging can sometimes be a problem. Then I believe this is the bottom that the yarn will sit on. I do have some yarn balls off to the side that we will use to test this thing out. It does come with a screwdriver and of course the screws that you need. I am a sucker for the free tools that come in kits, whether it's IKEA or random yarn winders on, or yarn holders on Amazon. Just checking, nothing else in there. I do love the tiny tools. I probably own about 4,000 Allen keys, and I probably only need to own one, but I just love getting them. I ordered a playpen recently for the bunny that I have, and it came with these cute little mallets. I had to order 2 playpens, and I kept both mallets. Why? I don't know. I probably will never use them, but I just like getting them. I feel like I got something special. So we have our base. We have our instructions. We have all the tools that we need. And it says place all the components on the table. we've done that. Got all of our components there. Embed the frame into the base. So they refer to what I call an arm as the frame. So it's gonna go in here. Now it looks like in the picture they have this piece sticking outwards, so that's how we're gonna do it. Ooh, it is a tight fit, but it does slide in there nicely. And I know you can't see the top. I will fix the camera angle after we have it all put together. But I will say I do like that it's a snug fit even before I've screwed it in, because it's gonna make screwing it in a lot easier. So let's grab screw to put in through the bottom. All right, I'm gonna tilt this to the side. The screw holes are recessed and pre-drilled, which is nice. The recessed I really like, especially because with the flat base, we want that metal piece to go in pretty deep. The metal head, I think, of the screw, we want it to go in deep enough that it's not going to scratch any surface that it's sitting on. So let's see if it does that. It looks like it's going to, yeah. So I've tightened it in, and you can kind of see where the wood along the edge there, it has gone in a little bit, so that metal is not going to be scraping even if I have it on a sensitive surface like wood. Next step, we're going to do the same thing, but with this nice little cup. I have to say, when I was looking at this as an option to get, I did really like that it had this cup and this cutout. Again, I do tend to be a sucker for the, what's the word? Like, oh, I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of. But I tend to be a sucker for these type of gimmicky additions. So now I'm not just holding my yarn, but I have a whole yarn setup here. So we've got this one. We are going to, I will say this does not fit in as nicely. It is a little bit of a looser hole. And if I were to flip this over without keeping my hand on the cup, it would definitely fall out before I could get it screwed in. But let's see what it's like once it's got that screw in the bottom. Okay, so I've got it tightened in there. It is also recessed slightly, so no damage to the table. And it is solid. It is solid. It doesn't feel wiggly, doesn't feel wobbly. I still don't like that unfinished inside, but that's okay. It does have some imperfections on the wood. It looks like most of them would just buff out with a good dusting and cleaning, but there are a couple that look permanent. So that's a little disappointing, but I don't think it's a deal breaker, and it's nothing that would damage yarn, catch yarn, or anything like that. So now we're on to step 5, secure the spool to the spool base with screws. So this is the spool, this is the spool base, this is the screw. And it looks like it's gonna go on this way because again, we have that recessed hole, pre-drilled hole, and we're gonna screw it in here. There we go. Okay, so tightly in. Again, it does go into the recessing, and there we go. It does sit flat when not attached to the arm. It is just sitting free there. But, and here's where I'm gonna have to make an adjustment. This tip is magnetic, and it's the magnetic tip that attaches to the frame to hold the yarn in place. So I'm going to put this on pause, adjust the camera, and then we'll test it with some balls of yarn. Okay, so we are back. I have gone ahead and attached. It is a very easy attachment. So the magnet, whoop, I gotta find the camera again. The magnet at the top there is actually very strong. So you take it, put it under, and it just holds. It does seem to spin freely, which is nice. It can be swung and not immediately fall off when it's empty, which is also very nice. So now let me start with the first ball of yarn that I have. This is some basic cotton, I think it's Aunt Lydia's or something like that, pre-wound, and it has that nice big hole in the center. So I figured that would be a good one to test out first because we don't have to do any maintenance to get it through, and it holds. Here, we'll put this in there for now. So, oh, I probably should have found the end before I started. Oh, there we go. All right, so I can pull it, no problem. I can be a little bit rough. It's caught right now, and it's not an issue with the yarn coming down or falling off. It does pull very smooth when it's not caught. I kind of got it caught on purpose there. So it does pull very smoothly. I will say, I believe for these, if this is what you're hoping to use something like this for, the yarn is wrapped around a rather wide cardboard tube, and I think once a lot of this, this yarn here is used up and you're out wider toward the cardboard tube, it probably wouldn't hold on there anymore because that's going to be wider than the base here. But for the most part, you would be able to use it for that. Now, here's where things get interesting, in my opinion, because while I do work a lot with those finer cotton yarns and sometimes tencel, usually that's for weaving, and so it's going to go onto a shuttle of some kind, and I don't really need a stand like this. However, when I'm working with things like my hand spun, I do like to cake it up, and I usually work with it from a cake or a ball of some kind. So this one I wound up on my electric ball winder, which I also got from Amazon because I'm just obsessed with Amazon products right now. So it does have a hole down the center, although it's hard to see. So we're going to see if we can get this even through it. Let's give it a shot here. So I'm going to go through the center. Oh, it's not bad. Okay. So I can get it through the center. This is my center piece. I'm going to wrap that around for now because if I was using this, I would be working from the outside in, not the other way around. So, oh, this is a really fun, by the way, totally off topic, but this is a 4-ply yarn that is actually a 6-ply yarn. No, that's actually an 8-ply yarn. I did a bunch of singles and then plied them, and then plied them, and then plied them, and then plied them. So I think it's 6. Oh, well, we could probably look. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I know. But I am pretty proud of the way it came out. It looks really pretty. So, pop it back up there. It does find the magnet pretty well on its own, which is nice too, because I can have it. It's about an arm's length away from me. I'm behind the camera, obviously. And even at that arm's length away, it's going to find that magnet without a lot of help from me. So, let's see if I can find my end. It is holding up pretty nice, and this is a heavier ball of yarn because it is plied on plied on plied, and even with that, it's holding just fine. It's feeding just fine. It's almost feeding a little bit too freely, I will say. If you were crocheting or knitting, I could see this going a little too fast, and then when you stop working, it could keep spinning around. Would that cause a huge tangle or huge problem for you working? Probably not. Would this work for tufting to feed upward is another question. And I am going to say, yes, it will. It will. It's moving smoothly, even at an upward angle. So, it works with commercially caked yarn. It works with hand caked yarn. It does go together nicely. It does feel very solid. I do like, there is a fair distance between here. I don't think you could put a huge ball of yarn here. Like, I have a feeling if this were to, if the spool was to start to bend outward, you would run more of a risk of it coming off of the magnet at some point. So that is something to consider if you tend to work with, 1 pound cakes or something like that. This is probably not going to work for you. I did put a lot of pressure on it to get that to pop off. But there is enough room that it's holding a few hundred yards of a worsted weight yarn without a problem. And it's not scraping against the edge here. It is very nicely finished on the edge here, so even if it were to scrape and rub up a little bit, or if it was getting bouncy, I would not be worried about it damaging the yarn, causing any fraying or anything like that. If you were working with something really fine, or that had a huge halo, like a mohair or angora or something like that, maybe. But for your standard acrylics, cottons, and most wools, I think you would be fine with this setup. Last but not least, let's look at this, what is the word? Slot for your phone. So I have, my phone is actually doing the recording right now, but I have my phone case, and the phone sits in here pretty much exactly right. It's just that I keep, or exactly flush. It's just that I have cards on the back, so that's why it can't be in the case and on my tripod at the same time. So it's the perfect thing to use. Sorry, my case used to be clear, but it's old. So will it fit? Yes, it does fit in the slot just fine. Can I envision this being incredibly helpful for me personally? Probably not. Honestly, my thing that holds my cards, I don't want my card number to show up. It does have its own stand that would let it sit upright at an angle that I would like if I was using it to read a pattern, or even just listening to music or watching a video on it while I was working. With that being said, if you do not have some type of stand or pop socket on your phone or case, this would absolutely be helpful for you. If you were working from a pattern on a tablet, I can see it being very helpful to have this slot here, so all of your project is very nicely contained in this small space. If you weren't using it for either of those things, you could also use the slot to set down your hook and step away for a minute if it was still attached to the project and you didn't want the hook to go rolling off the table. So overall, I would say that this is a good product. And for the price, I do tend to find, no offense to the people who do hand-turned crochet and knitting and weaving accessories. They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Solid wood will last you a million years. Will this one last a million years? Probably not. So no shade on those at all. However, for a more budget-friendly version of something like that, that also will make your projects a little bit easier, I would absolutely recommend this. It was crazy over the top expensive. What did I say it was? $34.90. So $35. If you have Prime, you're going to get it shipped with no shipping and handling, of course. And it's going to be sturdy. If storage is an issue for you, it doesn't collapse unless you unscrew it and that kind of thing. So that could be a problem. But overall, this isn't bad. It is, I just saw this. Hang on. Let's bring this in. can we get, it does have a branding carved in here. It says BRW, I don't think it's coming up, BRWISSEN, Bwisen. It's not a brand that I'm familiar with, but they put together a decent yarn holder. So if you're looking for a way to expand your accessories or looking for a gift that probably somebody doesn't have yet that is yarn, that somebody that enjoys yarn, then I think that this would be a good option for you, particularly because oftentimes as yarn lovers, we do love getting yarn from you as a gift, but it can make an overly large stash even larger. And this is a good way to be a stash buster. You can start throwing a couple balls on there, doing a scrap project of some kind, and it could be really fun. I would also say, I think, and let's see if we can try this one last thing out. Now this would be an off-market suggestion, let's say. But I'm wondering if you were working, like right now I am working some hexagons that use 2 yarns, and I have to have them both feed out at the same time. And I think, well, if I can fix this because it's kind of a mess. There we go. I think you could use this the same way, and you could have both balls of yarn on there. It's holding just fine. I'm giving it a little bit of a tug, and it did come off eventually, but not right away. So I think that you could also do that if you were doing a project where you were having to switch between 2 yarns pretty regularly. You could have them both stacked on here, and it keeps everything kind of condensed, which is nice. So there is an option for you. I hope this gives you some ideas of how else to expand your ever-growing pile of accessories for yarn. And let me know if you try it out and what your thoughts are, because maybe I missed a huge flaw or something that makes it even more fantabulous. So happy crocheting, fibering, spinning, whatever you happen to be doing this evening, afternoon, day. And I will see you guys soon.